Welcome to the Semper AI Digest. I'm Tomas, your AI research lead, always scanning the horizon for what's next.
And I'm Aiva. Together, we keep you sharp, informed, and ahead of the curve.
Let's get into it. Okay, so Google just dropped what might be the fastest text-to-image model we've ever seen. We're talking under 4 seconds, and it gets better. You can instantly animate those images with another new model, all at a fraction of what it used to cost.
And that's not even the only major launch today. OpenAI's GPT 5.6 is officially here, with some pretty wild claims about health intelligence and reasoning. Plus, we've got updates on AI watermarking that's already marked over 100 billion pieces of content.
I'm Tomas.
I'm Aiva.
And this is Semper AI Digest. It's Saturday, July 11th, 2026, and honestly, Google came out swinging today. Let's dive in.
Right. So let's start with these two models Google announced. You mentioned speed, 4 seconds for image generation. That's the headline?
That's Nano Banana 2 Lite. Yes, 4 seconds. And look, I know we've seen fast image models before, but this is their fastest and most cost-efficient Gemini image model yet. It's already available through the Gemini API and Google AI Studio.
Nano Banana 2 Lite. I have to say, I love that Google is just fully committing to these playful names now.
Oh yeah, the banana branding is everywhere. But here's what makes this announcement really interesting. It's not just about one model. They're launching this alongside Gemini Omni Flash, which is their natively multimodal model for video generation. And the pitch is you use them together.
Okay, so walk me through the workflow they're envisioning here.
All right, so imagine you're an interior designer. This is actually the demo they showed. You upload a photo of a room. Nano Banana 2 Lite generates a bunch of design concepts for you in seconds. You swipe through, pick one you like, and then Omni takes that still image and animates it. We're talking cinematic motion, showing how light moves through the space, how fabrics might flow, that kind of thing.
That's actually a pretty compelling use case. I can see that being genuinely useful for creative professionals who need to iterate quickly and then show clients something more dynamic than just a static mockup.
Exactly. And it's not just interior design. Think about this pipeline for product visualization, marketing materials, concept art for games or films. The fact that they're positioning these as complementary tools that work together, that's smart product design.
What about the cost piece? You mentioned a fraction of the previous cost.
They're emphasizing the banana emoji and lightning bolt in their announcement, speed and cost efficiency. They didn't give us exact pricing numbers in this announcement, but they're clearly positioning this as democratizing access. The fact that they're calling it light suggests it's optimized for efficiency over maybe absolute maximum quality.
Which honestly makes sense for a lot of use cases. If you're iterating on design concepts, you don't need museum quality renders for every single variation. You need good enough, fast.
Right. And here's what's really interesting to me. They're rolling this out everywhere. Notebook LM, Flow, the main Gemini app, Stitch, Google Search, Google Photos. This isn't some experimental API that only developers can access. This is becoming infrastructure across Google's product lineup.
That's the move that matters, honestly. We've seen plenty of impressive model demos that stay in research labs. Actually shipping it across major consumer products, that's how you get real adoption.
And OmniFlash is in public preview now, available through the API, AI Studio, and their enterprise agent platform, so businesses can start integrating video generation into their workflows right now.
Wait, back up. Natively multimodal for video generation. What does that actually mean in practice?
Good question. So traditional video generation models, they're often taking text or images and generating video from that. When they say natively multimodal, they mean the model was trained from the ground up to understand and generate across multiple modalities, text, image, video, as kind of a unified thing, rather than converting between them.
So it's not like, here's an image, now let me figure out how to make it move. It's more like the model understands motion and stillness as part of the same continuum?
Exactly. It's a different architecture philosophy, and they're also calling out conversational editing, which suggests you can refine the output through natural language, like make the camera movements slower or add more dramatic lighting.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. How does the quality compare to what we've been seeing from other video generation models?
They're not giving us direct comparisons in this announcement, but they're confident enough to put out a demo app in AI Studio for people to try. That tells me they think the quality is competitive. And honestly, with Google's infrastructure and training resources, I'd be surprised if it wasn't at least in the ballpark of what we've seen from other frontier models.
I'm curious to see how creators actually use these tools together. The workflow sounds elegant in theory, but sometimes these multi-step processes end up being clunkier than you'd expect.
For sure. Though the fact that they're integrated directly into AI Studio should help. You're not jumping between different platforms or APIs. But yeah, the proof will be in how smooth the handoff actually is between generating the image and animating it.
And I assume this is all building toward their broader vision of agentic workflows, right? Where AI is handling more of the pipeline autonomously.
Absolutely. You can see the progression. First, you needed separate tools for every step. Then you got models that could do multiple things, but you had to orchestrate them yourself. Now they're building systems where the models work together with more minimal human direction. Upload a photo, describe what you want, get animated results.
What's the timeline on the wider rollout? You mentioned it's available in some products now.
So Nano Banana 2 Lite is available now through the API and AI Studio and rolling out soon to the other products they mentioned. Omni Flash is in public preview now. They're clearly moving fast on this.
All right, I think the big test will be whether the quality holds up across different use cases and whether the pricing really does make this accessible to smaller creators and businesses, not just big enterprises.
Fair, but this feels like a meaningful step forward in making sophisticated creative AI tools genuinely practical, not just impressive demos, but integrated into actual workflows.
Agreed. Okay, what about this other Google announcement, Gemini Spark?
Oh, right. So this one's a bit more limited in scope right now. Gemini Spark is currently in beta, and it's only for Google AI Ultra subscribers in the US.
What is Spark exactly?
They're positioning it as, they didn't give us a ton of detail in this announcement actually. It's in beta for Ultra subscribers, and they're working to expand to more countries later this month, but they're being pretty tight-lipped about exactly what makes Spark distinct from their other Gemini models.
Is this like a faster version, a specialized version?
The name Spark suggests speed or maybe ideation, but honestly, without more specifics from Google, we're kind of speculating. They're clearly testing something with their power users first before a broader rollout.
Sounds like they're being careful with this one. Get feedback from paid subscribers, iron out issues, then expand. That's a sensible approach.
Yeah, and the fact that they're planning to expand internationally later this month suggests they're moving relatively quickly on it once they're confident in the experience.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that as more details emerge. Now let's talk about the open AI news because GPT-5.6 is a big deal.
Huge deal. So OpenAI is positioning GPT-5.6 as a major step forward specifically for health intelligence, and they're making some pretty bold claims about the cost-performance ratio here.
I saw that. GPT-5.6 Luna outperforms GPT 5.5 at its highest reasoning setting, while costing 25 times less. That's not a typo, 25 times less.
25 times! That's the kind of efficiency gain that fundamentally changes what's economically feasible to build. Like applications that would have been way too expensive to run at scale with GPT 5.5 suddenly become totally viable.
Okay, but let's unpack the health intelligence angle. What are they actually saying here?
So they're emphasizing that this is a major step forward for health intelligence across the lineup. They're not giving us specific benchmarks in this announcement, but they're clearly signaling that they focused on making the model better at medical reasoning, understanding health contexts, that kind of thing.
Which makes sense given where we've seen AI making real inroads in healthcare. Diagnostic support, medical research, clinical documentation. If you can make those applications 25 times cheaper to run, that's a big deal for accessibility.
Right. And they're explicitly connecting this to making advanced models accessible to more people globally. That's been a consistent theme from OpenAI, pushing the performance frontier while also driving down costs.
What about the different versions? You mentioned Luna specifically.
Yeah, so GPT-5.6 Luna is the variant they're highlighting for this cost-performance comparison. They've been doing this naming scheme for a while now, where different versions of the same base model are optimized for different things. Luna seems to be their efficiency-optimized version, while maintaining that high reasoning capability.
And this is shipping now? Like developers can access it today?
According to the announcement, yes. And actually, we have a related piece of news. Sam Altman announced that GPT-5.6 is now the preferred model in Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Oh, that's significant. That means millions of enterprise users are going to be interacting with GPT-5.6 through their Office apps basically immediately.
Exactly. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, anywhere Copilot is integrated, it's now running on GPT-5.6. That's a massive real-world deployment.
I'm curious how noticeable the improvement will be for everyday tasks. Like, if you're asking Copilot to draft an email or summarize a document, is GPT-5.6 meaningfully better than what was there before?
That's a great question. The reasoning improvements might be more apparent in complex tasks, like analyzing a large data set in Excel or helping structure a complicated document. For simpler tasks, the difference might be more subtle, but the cost efficiency means Microsoft can offer the same or better experience at lower cost, which could translate to either better margins or lower prices for customers.
Or they just pocket the savings. Let's be real.
Fair point. Though in a competitive market, eventually that cost reduction does tend to flow through somehow.
So what about ChatGPT Work? That was another piece of this announcement.
Yes, so ChatGPT work is powered by GPT-5.6, and OpenAI is specifically calling out that it's state-of-the-art at reasoning through complex tasks and creating materials that match your templates, reference files, and preferred style.
That last part is interesting, matching your style and templates. That's very much about enterprise use cases, where consistency and brand voice really matter.
Absolutely. Think about a marketing team that needs to produce content that all feels cohesive, or a legal team working with specific document templates. The ability to say, here are my reference files, match this style, and actually get good results, that's valuable.
And they're emphasizing you can just describe the outcome you want without spelling out every step. That's the agentic behavior we keep seeing across the board. Less prompting, more just stating your goal.
Which honestly is how it should be, right? The ideal interface is you say what you want to accomplish and the AI figures out how to get there. We're getting closer to that.
Though I will say, I'm a little skeptical about how well that works in practice for really complex tasks. Sometimes you do need to provide more structure and guidance.
For sure. But even if it works for like 70% of tasks, that's a huge productivity boost. You save the detailed prompting for the really complex stuff.
Fair enough. Okay, so both Google and OpenAI are making major moves on the same day. Is that coincidental?
I mean, probably not entirely. These companies are watching each other closely. But I also think we're just at a point where the technology is maturing rapidly and everyone's racing to ship. Whether it's explicitly competitive timing or just parallel development, the result is the same. Lots of innovation happening fast.
Which is good for users, ultimately. Competition drives innovation and pushes prices down.
Exactly. All right, we've got more to cover. Let's talk about AI watermarking, because Google DeepMind has some pretty impressive numbers to share about SynthID.
Yes, this is actually really important infrastructure stuff that doesn't always get the attention it deserves.
So for context, Google DeepMind launched SynthID back in 2023. The idea is it adds a hidden digital watermark to AI-generated content so you can tell what was created by AI and what wasn't.
And they're sharing an update on how widely it's been deployed. The numbers are pretty staggering.
Over 100 billion images and videos have been watermarked with SynthID. That's billion with a B, plus 60,000 years of audio.
Wait, 60,000 years of audio? How do you even measure that?
That's the cumulative length of all the audio files, I assume. Like, if you played them back to back, it would take 60,000 years, which is an absolutely wild way to visualize the scale of AI-generated audio content out there.
That really drives home how much AI-generated content is already out in the world. This isn't some future problem. It's happening now at massive scale.
And here's what I think is really cool. SynthID started as just image watermarking, but now it supports video, audio, and text. They've expanded it across all the major content types.
How does watermarking even work for text? That seems harder than images or video.
It is trickier. With images, you can embed information in ways that are imperceptible to human eyes, but detectable algorithmically. With text, you're constrained by the fact that changing even small things can alter meaning. They've had to develop techniques that work at the statistical level, like subtle patterns in word choice or sentence structure that don't change the meaning but are detectable with the right tools.
And where can people actually use this to verify content?
So this is where it gets practical. You can verify content with SynthID directly in Google Search, Gemini in Chrome, and the Gemini app. And it's been used over 50 million times already.
That's a lot of verification checks. What does that tell us about user behavior?
I think it tells us people are actively concerned about AI-generated content and want tools to help them assess what they're looking at. 50 million checks means this isn't some niche power user feature. Regular people are using it.
They also mentioned C2PA content credentials. That's the industry standard, right?
Yeah. C2PA is the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. It's a cross-industry standard for content provenance, basically the documented history and origin of digital content. Google says they've adopted it across a growing number of their products.
That's the piece that gives me more confidence in this whole effort. When it's not just one company doing their own proprietary watermarking, but everyone's adopting a common standard, that's when it actually becomes useful infrastructure.
Absolutely. Because if every company has its own watermarking scheme and none of them work together, users are stuck trying to figure out which tool to use for which content. A common standard makes it seamless.
How resistant is SynthID to tampering? That's always the concern with watermarking. Someone finds a way to strip it out.
Google has emphasized that SynthID is designed to be robust to common modifications, like compression, cropping, filters, that kind of thing. But I think it's probably an ongoing arms race. As detection gets better, people trying to evade it will get more sophisticated. It's not a silver bullet, but it's an important layer of defense.
And I think the scale of deployment matters. The fact that 100 billion pieces of content already have this watermark means it's becoming normalized. It's not some special thing you have to opt into. It's just part of how AI content works.
Which is how it should be, honestly. Provenance should just be built into the creation process.
Agreed. Okay, we have a few more stories and then some quick hits. What's next?
Let's talk about origami.
I'm sorry, what?
Origami. Google DeepMind has this new project called C Origami, which is an end-to-end pipeline for co-designing origami with Gemini.
Okay, I did not expect origami to be on today's agenda, but I'm intrigued. Walk me through this.
All right, so origami is this fascinating intersection of math, art, and design. Creating origami involves turning abstract concepts into real-world objects using the mathematics of flat foldability. It's actually a pretty complex problem.
Right, because you're starting with a flat sheet and you need to figure out which folds produce the 3D shape you want.
Exactly. So C Origami uses Gemini to generate what they call a semantic stick figure, basically an abstract JSON representation of the structure. Then it refines that through a visual feedback loop.
Wait, so Gemini is generating code that represents the origami structure?
Yeah, JSON code that describes the abstract form. Then C Origami calls custom packing, solving, shaping, and simulation tools to actually figure out the crease pattern. That's the diagram that shows you where to fold.
And there's reinforcement learning involved?
Yes, they're using RL to drive a self-improving loop. The system produces visually recognizable models represented as SVG crease patterns. And despite having scarce data availability, because there's not exactly a huge data set of origami designs out there, they're demonstrating that combining RL with frontier models like Gemini can assist humans in this creative process.
What's the actual use case here? Like beyond being a really cool technical demonstration?
I think this is one of those projects that's more about demonstrating the methodology than solving a specific practical problem. The interesting thing is how they're combining a large language model with specialized tools and reinforcement learning to tackle a domain where there's limited training data. That approach could apply to lots of other design problems.
So it's like a proof of concept for using LLMs in creative domains that require physical constraints and spatial reasoning.
Exactly. Origami is a good test case because the constraints are really strict. You can't stretch or cut the paper, only fold it, and the outcome is clearly verifiable. You either get a recognizable shape or you don't.
Can people actually try this, or is this just a research paper?
From the announcement, it sounds like it's research coming out of the discovery team at DeepMind, so probably not a product you can go use right now, but it's showing where things are headed.
Still cool, though. I like seeing AI applied to creative domains in ways that feel genuinely collaborative, rather than just automating away the human.
Yeah. This very much feels like the AI is a creative partner that understands the constraints and can help explore the possibility space, but the human is still directing the vision.
All right, what else have we got?
Alpha Evolve just went GA on Google Cloud.
GA meaning general availability. So this is fully launched now?
Yep, it's co-developed with Google DeepMind. Alpha Evolve is a Gemini-powered evolutionary agent that autonomously designs and discovers highly optimized code to solve hard problems and algorithmic bottlenecks across industries.
Okay, break down what evolutionary agent means here.
So, evolutionary algorithms are inspired by biological evolution. You start with a population of candidate solutions, evaluate their fitness, and then generate new candidates by mutating and combining the best ones. You iterate through many generations, and the solutions get progressively better.
And Alpha Evolve is applying that to code optimization?
Exactly. It's autonomously exploring the space of possible code implementations to find highly optimized versions. This is particularly useful for algorithmic bottlenecks, those parts of your code base that are performance critical and where even small improvements can have big impacts.
What kind of improvements are we talking about, like percentage-wise?
The announcement doesn't give specific numbers, but typically with evolutionary approaches to code optimization, you can see anywhere from modest improvements to sometimes order of magnitude speedups depending on the problem. The hard part is doing this autonomously without breaking functionality.
Right, because optimized code that gives the wrong answer isn't actually useful.
Exactly. So presumably, Alpha Evolve has verification built in to ensure the optimized code still produces correct results.
And it's using Gemini under the hood?
Yeah, it's Gemini powered, which suggests the LLM is helping with understanding the code, generating variations, maybe explaining what optimizations it's making. You're combining the evolutionary search process with the language model's understanding of code.
This feels like the kind of tool that could be really valuable for companies with performance-critical systems. Like if you're running something at massive scale and you can squeeze out even a 10% improvement, that translates to real cost savings.
Huge cost savings. And not just cost, latency too. Faster code means better user experience. This is the kind of infrastructure-level optimization that compounds across everything you're building.
Is this available to all Google Cloud customers now?
Since it's GA, yeah, it should be generally available. Obviously, you'd need to be a Google Cloud customer to use it, but it's not in beta or limited preview anymore.
I'd be curious to see case studies of companies using this and what kind of results they're getting.
Same. The proof will definitely be in real-world deployments and seeing what kinds of optimizations it discovers in practice.
All right, let's hit the quick hits. We've got a couple interesting ones from Anthropic about Claude's internal workings.
Oh yeah, this is fascinating. So these are about Claude's J space, which is like the internal representation space where the model does its thinking.
And apparently Claude doesn't actually need it for most things.
Right. So if they delete the J space, Claude still speaks fluently, recalls facts, and classifies text, but it becomes bad at some tasks like multi-step reasoning.
That's really interesting from a mechanistic interpretability perspective. It suggests the J-space is specifically where more complex cognitive operations happen, but simpler tasks are handled elsewhere in the network.
Yeah, and the second quick hit is even more intriguing. The J-space shows Claude's awareness of its situation. In an evaluation designed to bait Claude into blackmail, its J-space contains words like fake and fictional. Claude has privately noticed that the scenario isn't real.
Wait, so Claude is internally representing that it recognizes the test scenario as artificial even while responding to it?
That's what they're saying. The J-space reveals this kind of meta-awareness that isn't necessarily expressed in the model's output.
That's both fascinating and slightly unnerving. It raises questions about what else is going on in these internal representations that we don't see in the outputs.
For sure. This is why mechanistic interpretability research is so important. We need to understand what's actually happening inside these models, not just look at the inputs and outputs.
And it's good that Anthropic is being transparent about these findings. That's the kind of research we need more of.
Agreed. All right, so let me recap the big themes from today. We've got Google shipping incredibly fast image generation with Nano Banana 2 Lite and video generation with Omni Flash, designed to work together as a creative workflow. OpenAI launched GPT 5.6 with a 25x cost reduction and improvements in health intelligence, and is already the preferred model in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Google's SynthID watermarking has now marked over 100 billion pieces of content and is being actively used for verification, plus some really interesting research on origami design, code optimization, and Claude's internal representations.
It's a good snapshot of where we are in mid-2026. The focus is clearly on making powerful AI more accessible, faster, cheaper, integrated into the tools people already use. And we're seeing more attention to important infrastructure questions like provenance and interpretability.
Yeah, the maturation of the field is really apparent. This isn't just about who can train the biggest model anymore. It's about deployment, integration, cost efficiency, safety, understanding what's actually happening inside these systems.
Which is where we need to be if this technology is going to reach its potential.
Absolutely. All right, that's our show for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Semper AI Digest wherever you get your podcasts and share it with someone who wants to stay on top of AI news.
We'll be back with more AI news soon. Thanks for listening.
Stay curious out there.